Hello, I'm Ella.
And I'm Finlay, and welcome to What the Friday podcast.
In this episode, Beau has been speaking to Michela from Invictus Wellbeing about stress and life transitions.
Let's hear how they got on.
Hi, I'm Beau, and today we're going to be talking about stress and life transitions, and I'm joined by Michela from Invictus Wellbeing.
Hi.
To start off, the first question is, why do life changes like finishing school, starting college, or work cause so much stress and anxiety for young people?
That's a great question. You see, change, even positive change, always brings some level of uncertainty. So our brains are wired to see uncertainty as a potential threat. So for young people, this is amplified because the brain is still developing well into the mid-20s, especially the prefrontal cortex, the part that handles decision-making, impulse control, and emotional regulation. So when big life changes happen, that emotional part of the brain can go into overdrive before the rational part is fully developed. There's also this huge cultural pressure to get it right, to choose the perfect course, the perfect career, to have everything figured out immediately. But in reality, that's just not how life works. And on top of that, young people are figuring out who they are, their values, goals, and sense of identity. That kind of inner questioning, who am I? What do I want to do with my life? It can feel very overwhelming, especially when combined with external expectations.
Thank you for that. The next question is, how can someone tell the difference between normal stress and something more serious like anxiety or burnout?
Well, some stress, it's totally normal. It's your body's way of gearing up for a challenge, like before an exam, for example, or an interview. It usually fades once the event passes. Anxiety, on the other hand, that tends to stick around. It can feel constant, even when nothing specific has happened. You might notice things like racing thoughts, muscle tension, a tight chest, stomach issues, trouble sleeping. Burnout, that's slightly different. So it often comes from ongoing pressure without enough rest or reward. It can feel like emotional exhaustion, lack of motivation, or even numbness, like you're running on empty. If stress starts to affect your sleep, mood, or ability to function day to day, that's usually a sign it's worth reaching out for support.
So, what are some healthy ways to cope with the stress of big changes like starting college, a job, or moving out?
Well, routine's your friend here. When everything feels new, having small predictable habits like a morning walk, regular meals, or set a bedtime, that gives your brain a sense of stability. Break things into manageable steps. For example, instead of stressing about your first day at college, focus on one task, like figuring out your commute or what you'll wear, and talk to people. It's really tempting to isolate yourself when you're anxious, but sharing what you're going through helps you realize you're not alone. Mindfulness and grounding techniques can also help. Things like deep breathing, journaling, or even naming what you can see and hear in the moment keeps you present rather than spiraling it into the what ifs.
What do you think can make things worse during these life transitions? What should young people avoid doing?
One big one is avoidance. Pretending everything's fine or pushing those feelings down often makes stress build up over time. Constantly comparing yourself to others, especially online, can be really damaging too. Social media highlights the best moments of people's lives, and it can trick you into thinking you're behind, when in reality, everyone's figuring it out privately. Another pitfall, I would say, is overloading yourself. It's great to be ambitious, but if you don't balance that with rest, burnout creeps in fast. And finally, not asking for help out of fear of seeming weak or feeling like you're failing can make things much harder than they need to be.
How can friends and family support someone who's going through a stressful transition?
Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just listen. Without trying to fix it or give advice, that kind of presence can be really grounding. Encourage breaks, remind them that they don't have to do everything perfectly, and let them know they're not alone, that everyone struggles with change. If you're genuinely worried, it's okay to gently suggest they talk to a counsellor or GP, framing it as you deserve some extra support right now, rather than you need help, can make a big difference.
How does stress affect our brains and bodies, especially during the teenage years and early 20s?
Well, stress activates the fight or flight system. Your heart rate goes up, muscles tense, and your brain goes on high alert. That's useful short term, but when stress is constant, it can impact memory, concentration, and mood. Because the brain is still developing, and chronic stress during these years can actually shape how the brain processes emotion and threat long term. So learning to manage stress early isn't just about feeling better now, it's an investment in your future mental health.
And why is it okay not to have everything figured out in your late teens or early 20s?
Because nobody really does. Most people change careers multiple times. I have done so myself. Your 20s are about exploring, learning what energizes you, and even making mistakes, because that's how you grow. The idea that you need everything perfectly mapped out is a myth. Life paths are really straight lines, and that's what makes them interesting.
And how can social media affect our stress levels, especially during big life transitions?
Social media can be both a connection tool and a comparison trap, like I mentioned before. So, during transitions when you're feeling uncertain, seeing everyone else highlights new jobs, travel, relationships, it can make you feel like you're falling behind. It's important to remember that you're seeing a created version of someone else's life, not the whole picture. It's totally okay to take breaks, mute or unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate, and just focus on real life connections.
What are some small daily habits that can help reduce stress and build resilience over time?
The basics make a huge difference. So getting enough sleep, eating regularly, and just moving your body. Even a short walk boosts your mood. Journaling or gratitude practices can shift your mindset as well, while mindfulness or breathing exercises can calm your nervous system. And don't underestimate the power of social connection. Spending time with people who make you feel safe and understood is one of the biggest protectors against stress.
When do you think someone should get professional help for stress or anxiety, and what does that actually look like?
If stress is starting to impact your daily life, like your studies, relationships, or physical health, that is a good time to reach out. Therapy isn't just for crisis. It's a space to understand yourself better, learn coping tools, and have someone to really listen. Talk to your GP is often a good first step. They can refer you to counselling. If you're in school or university, most have free mental health services available. And therapy doesn't have to be intimidating. It can be as simple as having a safe space to talk and learn new ways of handling life challenges. Just to kind of summarize it all, transitions are hard because they stretch us, but they also help us grow. Stress isn't a sign that you're failing, it's a sign that you're adapting to something new. The key is to be kind to yourself through that process, and remember, nobody has it all figured out, and that's completely okay.
Thank you, Michela. That's all for today on stress and life transitions.
Thank you so much, Beau and Michela, and for Miroslav for producing. We hope you found that as interesting as we did.
Not only did they host the episode, but they also undertook all the research too.
You can find lots of interesting podcasts on a variety of subjects by exploring the useful podcast section of the Destination web app. Search destination.org.uk.
You can also find them on Apple, Spotify or YouTube.
If you would like to know more information on the subjects discussed, please check the podcast description.
We'd like to thank Invictus and National Lottery for their support, Jimmy for editing and Youth Social for producing.